My boyfriend was secretly sleeping with my best friend. I started seeing her father. Then I found out my own mother had known something was wrong before I did. I wish I could say I handled any of it well. I did not. I made choices because I was angry and hurt and tired of feeling like the last person in the room to understand a joke. Some of those choices gave me a few moments of satisfaction. One of them almost cost me the one person who treated me like I mattered. I had been with Logan Pierce for 3 years. A year earlier, I moved from Ohio to Virginia when he got a job with a medical supply company outside Richmond. I left a job I liked, my sister Brooke, and the little apartment where I could walk to my favorite diner in 10 minutes. Logan told me we were building something. He said he could see us buying a house. He said he knew the move was a lot to ask, but he would make it worth it. I believed him. We rented a second-floor apartment with thin walls and a balcony that looked over a parking lot. It was not glamorous. The carpet was beige. The kitchen cabinets were old, but I bought curtains and plants and a little round table for the balcony. I told myself we were starting our real adult life. Sierra Caldwell was the only person from home who visited often. We had been friends since college. She had seen me through bad breakups, the death of my grandfather, and every dumb job interview outfit I had ever considered wearing. She flew down twice after I moved. Then she found a remote marketing job and started staying with us for longer stretches while she looked for an apartment nearby. Logan acted like Sierra was too much. He would roll his eyes when she told a long story. He would say he had work emails and disappear into the bedroom, while she and I drank wine on the couch. Sierra would laugh and say he barely tolerated her. I used to tell her that was just Logan. He was quiet around people he did not know well. I thought it was almost sweet that she felt comfortable enough to tease him. Looking back, he was not quiet around her at all. He was careful. Sierra spent most of that spring complaining about dating. She said every man on an app either wanted to meet at midnight or wanted a woman who looked perfect in gym clothes. She would sit at our kitchen counter in socks and one of my old sweatshirts, saying she was tired of being alone. I would make her tea. I would tell her she deserved someone kind. She would look at me with these sad eyes and say she hoped I was right. The first thing that felt strange happened when Logan hurt his wrist at work. A shelving unit shifted while he was helping a client move boxes. It was not serious, but the urgent care doctor said he needed a small procedure the next morning because a tendon had been strained. His mother, Melanie, was driving down from Maryland. I went with him because that was what girlfriends did when their boyfriend was nervous and pretending not to be. He was in the back getting checked in when his phone started buzzing in my tote bag. He had handed it to me while he filled out forms because his hand was wrapped up. I thought it might be Melanie asking where we were. It was Sierra. The message appeared on the lock screen before I even picked the phone up. It said, "I hate acting like I did not want it to. Tell her you did not want it either." My whole body went cold. There was another message a few seconds later. It said, "Please. I cannot keep doing this if she thinks I am the only bad one." I stared at the screen until it went dark. I did not open the phone. I did not scroll. I did not need to. I stood in the waiting room with a coffee I had not touched and watched people come in through the glass doors. A man in a baseball cap was holding the hand of a little girl with a pink backpack. A woman was arguing with someone on speakerphone about a prescription. Everything was normal for them. I wanted to walk up to one of them and ask how they were breathing so easily. Logan came back 20 minutes later with a brace and a smile that looked tired around the edges. He asked if his mom had called. I handed him his phone. He saw my face before he looked at it. He asked, "What happened?" I told him what I saw. At first, Logan sat very still. Then he rubbed the good hand over his mouth. He said Sierra had kissed him after she drank too much at a restaurant the week before. He said he pushed her away. He said she cried and begged him not to tell me because she was embarrassed. He said he had not wanted to hurt me with something that meant nothing. I asked, "Why would she say you wanted it too?" He said, "She is trying to protect herself." He looked so miserable saying it. That was the part that got me. He did not get loud. He did not call me crazy. He said he understood if I was angry. He said he should have told me right away. Then he handed me his phone and told me I could look through everything. I did. There was nothing there. Their messages had been deleted except for a few harmless ones about Sierra borrowing my hairdryer and Logan picking up oat milk. Logan said he deleted the conversation because he did not want to keep seeing Sierra apologize. He said he was ashamed that he had not shut it down more clearly. I wanted to believe him so badly that it almost hurt. Sierra came over that night with mascara under her eyes. She sat on the edge of our couch and said she had made a mistake. She said Logan had been kind when she was feeling pathetic and lonely, and she mistook that for something else. She said she tried to kiss him. She said he moved away. She said she hated herself for making things weird between us. I remember looking at her hands. Her nails were painted pale blue. I had helped her choose that color at a drugstore 2 days earlier. She kept crying. I kept asking if there was anything else. She said no. So I forgave the version of the story they gave me. For a few weeks, I tried to act normal. Logan brought me flowers on a Thursday for no reason. He started asking more questions about my work. He offered to take me to a restaurant with white tablecloths, even though he usually complained about spending money on dinner. Sierra found an apartment across town and stopped coming over without texting first. It should have made me feel better. Instead, it felt like everyone was moving pieces around a room after something had broken. Jada Monroe was the first person who made me doubt the story again. Jada worked with me at a small nonprofit. We planned donor events and pretended that folding tablecloths was a meaningful career skill. She was funny without trying to be. She also noticed everything. One Tuesday, she was helping me load boxes of programs into my car after a lunch event. She asked if Logan still traveled for work. I said sometimes. She said she thought she saw him at the Hawthorne Hotel the previous Friday. She had been there for a cousin's bridal shower. She said she almost waved, but he was walking fast with a woman and looked like he did not want anyone to see him. I told her he had been in Charlotte that Friday. Jada stopped moving for a second. Then she said maybe it was someone who looked like him. I said maybe. But there was a picture in my head now. Logan in the hotel lobby, Sierra beside him, his hand low against her back the way he used to guide me through crowded places. That evening, I asked Logan how Charlotte had gone. He said the client meeting was boring. He said the hotel coffee was terrible. He said he missed me. He said all of it while looking directly at me. I did not confront him. Not yet. I started paying attention instead. Ryder Cole gave me the next piece without knowing it. Ryder was Logan's oldest friend in Virginia. He came over one Saturday to help us move a bookcase because Logan's wrist was still in the brace. Ryder was broad-shouldered and loud and always acted like every bad idea was a funny story after enough time had passed. We were carrying the bookcase down the hallway when he asked if Logan had paid me back for the parking tickets. I asked what parking tickets. Ryder looked toward the living room where Logan was pretending to work with one hand on his laptop. Then he said never mind. I told him not to do that. Not after what had already happened. Ryder set his end of the bookcase down. His face changed. He asked what I meant. I told him about the message from Sierra. I told him the story Logan gave me. Ryder looked sick. He said he thought Logan only used his car once because Logan had borrowed it when his own car was supposedly at the shop. He said Logan asked him to say they went to a hockey game together if anyone asked. I asked when. Ryder said the Friday Jada saw Logan at the Hawthorne. Then he sat down on the floor beside the bookcase and put his face in his hands. He kept saying he did not know. He said Logan told him Sierra was going through something, and he did not want Natalie worrying. He said he thought it was stupid but not like this. Not an affair, not a whole secret life. I did not comfort him. I was too busy trying not to throw up. That night, after Logan fell asleep, I opened the drawer where we kept old chargers and batteries. I found the tablet we had used when we first moved because Logan's work laptop was delayed. It was still signed into a shared photo account. I was not looking for a trick. I was looking for a reason to stop feeling insane. There were no pictures of Sierra and Logan together. There were screenshots. Logan had saved screenshots of a hotel booking confirmation. Sierra had saved a map with the back entrance marked. There was a screenshot of a message from Logan that said, "Natalie believes I shut you down. We have to keep it that way for a while." There were more. One showed Sierra saying I hate lying to her face. Another showed Logan replying she will believe whatever feels safest. She always does. I read that one 3 times. Then I found the messages about me. They complained that I was too tired after work. They made fun of how I packed lunches for Logan because he forgot to eat. Sierra said, I was trying too hard to be the perfect girlfriend. Logan replied, I was easier to live with than to want. I did not cry right away. I sat on the floor in the dark with the tablet on my knees. The apartment was silent except for the air conditioner kicking on. I could hear Logan breathing down the hallway. 3 years. A move across state lines. Every time I bought groceries. Every time I told Sierra she would find someone who loved her. They had been laughing at me through all of it. The next morning, I made coffee for Logan. I kissed his cheek before he left for work. I asked if his wrist hurt. I smiled when he said he loved me. Then I locked the door behind him and sat on the kitchen floor until my legs went numb. I wanted to confront them. I wanted to send every screenshot to everyone they knew. I wanted to call Sierra's father and tell him exactly what his daughter had done. Instead, I thought about Graham Caldwell. Graham had been Sierra's father for as long as I had known her. He was divorced from Sierra's mother and lived in a brick house near a lake about 40 minutes away. When we were in college, he would drive down for parents' weekends with a cooler full of sandwiches and a stack of cash he pretended Sierra did not know about. He was the kind of man who listened when people spoke, not in a dramatic way. He just looked at you like your answer mattered. He was 54 now. He ran a small company that designed gardens and outdoor spaces for people with more money than sense. He had been divorced for 4 years after Sierra's mother left him for someone she met through a golf club. Sierra did not talk about it much, but she once told me her father had changed after the divorce. Quieter, more careful. The thought came to me in the ugliest way possible. Sierra had taken my boyfriend. Maybe I could take her father. I hated myself for thinking it. Then I thought about Logan's message. She will believe whatever feels safest. She always does. Something inside me got hard. I found Graham's number in an old group chat. I stared at it for an hour before I called. When he answered, he sounded surprised to hear from me. He said, Natalie, it has been too long. I told him I was sorry to bother him. I said I had moved to Virginia and felt lost. I said I knew he had been through a divorce and I wondered if he could recommend a lawyer or just tell me what he wished someone had told him at the beginning. That part was not completely fake. I was thinking about leaving Logan. I was scared about the lease and the money and the fact that my name was on everything. Graham said he did not know a lawyer near me, but he knew fear when he heard it. He asked if I wanted to meet for coffee somewhere public and talk. I said yes before I could talk myself out of it. We met at a coffee shop near the lake the following Saturday. Graham wore a navy sweater and work boots with dirt still around the soles. His hair had more gray in it than I remembered. He looked tired when he first sat down, but his face warmed when he saw me. He asked if Logan had hurt me. I said Logan and I were having problems. I said I did not know what I wanted yet. I did not say Sierra's name. I did not say I had already seen proof. I did not say I had called, because I wanted to put a knife into his daughter's life without touching her. Graham listened for almost 2 hours. He told me the first weeks after his divorce felt like walking through a house after a fire. Everything was still there, but nothing felt safe to touch. He said I did not have to decide my whole future in one frightened afternoon. I just needed to make sure I was not making choices because someone else had convinced me I had no choices. I went home and cried in my car before I started the engine. That was the first problem. I expected Graham to be a symbol. I expected him to be Sierra's father. I did not expect him to be kind. He texted me that evening to make sure I got home safely. 2 days later, he sent me the name of a tenant rights clinic near my office. He said he had asked a friend, not because he was pushing me to leave Logan, but because information made fear smaller. I told myself I was only talking to him because I needed help. Then I told myself I was only meeting him again because he offered to walk through a park with me on Sunday. Then I stopped pretending the first reason was all there was. Graham knew a trail near the lake where the trees bent over the path. He pointed out birds I could not name and laughed when I said every bird looked like a bird to me. He did not make a big show of caring. He just remembered things. He remembered I hated cilantro. He remembered I worked late before donor events. He remembered I used to want a dog when we were in college because he had once heard Sierra mention it. Logan had lived with me for a year and could not remember which coffee I ordered. That contrast was dangerous. Sierra and Logan kept seeing each other. I knew because I kept looking. I stopped asking questions that gave them a chance to rehearse. I saved screenshots to a private folder. I forwarded hotel confirmations to a new email address. I took pictures of the shared calendar when Logan marked fake client trips. Every piece of proof made me feel worse. There was no single moment to blame. No one drunken kiss. No one mistake. There were months of plans. There were hotel rooms and lies and small jokes at my expense. They picked the days I worked late. They used Ryder's car. They used Sierra's apartment before she even told me she had signed the lease. Graham and I kissed 3 weeks after our first coffee. It happened outside a little restaurant near the lake. We had eaten dinner and talked about nothing serious. His latest project. My awful fundraiser committee. A woman at the next table who kept sending food back. The night was cold and I was standing beside my car with my coat pulled tight. Graham said he had been trying very hard not to do something stupid. I asked what that was. He touched my face and kissed me. For 1 second, I forgot Logan. I forgot Sierra. I forgot every message on the tablet. Then I remembered exactly why I had called him. I kissed him back anyway. When I got home, I sat in the bathroom with the lights off. I felt powerful and filthy at the same time. I had wanted Sierra to feel the kind of shock I felt in that urgent care waiting room. I wanted her to see me with her father and understand that I could ruin things too. But Graham had put his hand on my cheek like I was someone worth being careful with. He did not deserve to be part of a war he did not know existed. I thought about telling him the truth that night. I did not. That was the second problem. My parents' 35th anniversary party was already planned for the end of June. Arthur and Denise Brooks were not people who usually threw big parties. My father thought restaurant reservations were a personal insult. My mother liked everyone to leave her house by 9:30. But Brooke had decided 35 years was important, and then she decided a backyard dinner with friends and family would be fun. It became a whole thing. There were strings of lights. My father built a wooden platform for a dance floor even though nobody asked him to. Brooke ordered too many cupcakes. Sierra was invited because she had spent enough holidays with us that my mother called her one of the family. Logan's parents were invited because they were coming down for the weekend anyway. The party was 8 days away when I decided I was done waiting. I asked Graham if he would come with me. He looked surprised. We had been seeing each other quietly. Not hiding, exactly, but not announcing it either. He knew I had not officially ended things with Logan. I had told him I was preparing to. That was true. I had not told him I was preparing something else too. Graham asked if I was sure. I said yes. He said he would be honored. I spent the next week arranging my evidence. I printed the hotel confirmations, the screenshots, and a statement Ryder sent after he agreed to write down what Logan asked him to lie about. I put everything in a plain manila envelope. I did not tell Jada. I did not tell Brooke. I did not tell my parents. Logan came home from a fake work trip the night before the party with a bottle of wine and a tired smile. He said he knew we had been distant. He said he wanted us to get back to the way we were. He said maybe after the anniversary party, we could talk about getting engaged for real. I looked at him across the kitchen. He had no idea what was waiting for him. For a second, I felt almost calm. The party started at 4. Graham picked me up at 3:30. He brought my mother a pot of lavender and my father a bottle of bourbon. He wore a light blue shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked nervous. It made something twist in my stomach. I almost told him in the car. I almost said, "There is something you need to know before we get there." But then we turned onto my parents' street, and I saw Sierra's car already parked in front of the house. My courage turned into anger. When we walked through the gate, Brooke was the first person to see us. She was carrying a tray of corn on the cob. Her mouth fell open. Then she looked from Graham to me and whispered natally, "What is happening?" I told her I would explain soon. My mother came out of the kitchen carrying a bowl of potato salad. She froze when she saw Graham. My father shook Graham's hand slowly, as if he was trying to figure out where he knew him from. Then Sierra walked out from the back patio. She had a glass of lemonade in her hand. She was wearing a yellow dress with little white flowers. She saw Graham first. The glass slipped out of her fingers. It hit the patio stones and broke. Lemonade splashed across her sandals. Nobody moved. Graham looked at Sierra with confusion. He asked, "Are you okay?" Sierra stared at me. Logan came around the corner a few seconds later. He was carrying 2 paper plates. He saw Sierra on the ground. Then he saw Graham standing beside me with his hand near my back. His face changed so fast that I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. He asked, "Why is Graham here?" I said, "Graham is my date." The backyard got quiet. Even the kids from next door stopped yelling over the fence. Sierra stood up slowly. Her hands were shaking. She asked, "What are you doing?" I said, "I am having dinner with my family." She said, "Numb. What are you doing with my father?" Graham looked at me then. He did not understand why she sounded afraid. He only knew something was wrong. I took the envelope from my purse. My fingers were steady. That surprised me. I told everyone I had something to explain. I said, "Logan and Sierra have been having an affair for months. It was not a kiss. It was not a misunderstanding. I have proof." Melanie made a sound like she had been hit. Victor stepped toward Logan and asked if it was true. My father went still in the way he did when he was angry. Brooke put the tray down on the patio table without looking away from Sierra. Logan started talking fast. He said, "You are twisting things. We should talk inside. This is not the place." I handed the envelope to Victor. He opened it. His hands shook as he looked through the pages. He passed one to Melanie. Her face went white. She read the screenshot where Logan called me easier to live with than to want. She looked at her son like she had never seen him before. Sierra started crying. She said, "I am sorry. It started when I was lonely. Logan and I understood each other. Neither of us meant to hurt you." I asked how 8 months of lies happened by accident. She tried to answer. Nothing came out. Logan said, "You were not there for me. You were always tired and stressed, acting like moving was my fault." Sierra listened to me. "I did not know how to tell you I was unhappy." Brooke cut him off. She asked if he needed 8 months in hotel rooms to say he was unhappy. My father told Logan to stop talking. Then Graham asked the question I had been afraid of. He looked at Sierra. He asked if she had been sleeping with Logan. Sierra covered her face with both hands. She did not say yes. She did not say no. She just cried harder. Graham's shoulders dropped. It was like someone had taken something heavy and placed it on him all at once. He looked at his daughter, then at me, then at the people standing around the patio with food going cold on paper plates. Sierra looked up at him through her tears. She said, "Dad, she only started seeing you because of this. She planned it. She wanted to hurt me." Every person in the yard looked at me. I could have lied. I could have said no, that was not true. I could have said Graham and I just happened. Part of it had happened, but not the beginning. Graham turned toward me. His face was not angry at first. It was worse than angry. It was hurt. He asked, "Is that true?" My throat closed. I said, "I called you because I knew what Sierra and Logan were doing. I wanted Sierra to feel betrayed. I never planned to hurt you. I care about you now." Graham looked down at the grass. He stood there for a long time. Then he said he needed air, even though we were outside. He walked through the gate and down the sidewalk. Sierra called after him. I called after him too. He did not stop for either of us. That was when my mother started crying. At first I thought she was crying because of Logan and Sierra. Then she walked toward me with her hands pressed together. Her face looked gray. She said, "There is something I need to tell you." I asked, "What?" She said she saw Logan and Sierra at a restaurant in April. She had been meeting a friend for lunch. She saw them in a booth near the back. They were holding hands. Sierra kissed his cheek when they thought nobody was looking. I felt the world tilt again. I asked why she did not tell me. My mother said she called Sierra the next day. Sierra told her it was nothing. She said Logan had been comforting her because she was depressed. She said she had made a stupid mistake and would fix it. My mother said she wanted to believe her. She said she knew I had already given up so much for the move. She was scared that if she told me and it was nothing, I would think she was trying to ruin my life. I asked if she ever asked Logan. She said, "No." I asked if she ever told my father. She said, "No." My mother reached for my hand. I stepped back before she could touch me. The look on her face stayed with me for weeks. I knew she had not slept with my boyfriend. I knew she had not laughed at me. But she saw something and chose quiet because quiet was easier. Everyone had decided I was safer not knowing. Logan tried to come closer. Brooke stood between us before he got there. She told him, "You need to leave." Melanie took one of his arms. Victor took the other. Logan said my name once. He said he loved me. His voice sounded small. I did not answer. Sierra was still standing beside the broken glass. She looked at me with a mixture of fear and anger. She said, "You destroyed my relationship with my father." I told her, "You destroyed ours first." Then she left too. The party did not end right away. That was the strange part. There were still cupcakes. The grill was still smoking. A few of my parents' friends stood near the fence pretending not to hear. My father turned off the music. My mother sat down in one of the folding chairs and covered her face. I looked at the lavender Graham brought for her. It was sitting on the patio table beside the envelope of proof. I felt nothing like victory. That night, I drove back to my apartment alone. Logan was gone. His clothes were still in the closet. His toothbrush was beside mine in the bathroom. The bottle of wine he brought home was open on the counter, exactly where he left it. I sat on the floor next to the couch and cried until my chest hurt. I cried because Logan cheated. I cried because Sierra lied. I cried because my mother stayed quiet. But mostly I cried because Graham's face kept coming back to me. I had wanted to make Sierra feel something. I had made Graham feel it instead. Logan called 14 times the next day. I did not answer. He sent texts saying he could explain. He said he had made a terrible choice. He said Sierra meant nothing. He said he did not want to lose me. I read them once and blocked him. Sierra sent one message. It said, "I never thought you would use my dad like that." I stared at it for a long time. Then I wrote back, "You never thought I would know what you did, either." After that, I blocked her too. Brooke came down from Ohio 2 days later. She drove 6 hours with a cooler full of sandwiches and 3 bags of things from my favorite grocery store. She hugged me in the parking lot so hard I could barely breathe. We spent the first afternoon packing Logan's clothes into boxes. I did not want to touch any of it. Brooke did most of the work while I sat on the bed holding shirts that still smelled like his laundry detergent. In the back of Logan's closet, we found a duffel bag with hotel receipts. Not 1 or 2, dozens. There were receipts from places near Sierra's apartment, places near his office, places in towns he claimed were work trips. Brooke stopped reading after the 5th one. She said, "We have enough." I said, "I know." She asked if I wanted to call Graham. I said no. Then I started crying again. Brooke sat beside me on the floor. She said she understood why I did it. She said Logan and Sierra made me feel powerless, and Graham was the one thing Sierra could not control. But she also said understanding was not the same as saying it was okay. I told her I knew that too. She rubbed my back and said knowing was a start. Doing something with it was the hard part. 3 days later, Graham texted me. The message said, "We should talk when you are ready." I read it 10 times before I answered. I told him I was ready whenever he was. We met at the same coffee shop where we first sat together. I got there early. I ordered tea and did not drink it. When Graham walked in, he looked older than he had a week before. His eyes were tired. His shirt was wrinkled. He sat across from me and did not reach for my hand. I apologized before he said anything. I told him I was sorry for calling with a plan in my head. I was sorry for pretending I needed only legal advice. I was sorry for every time I let him think our first coffee was random or innocent. I told him the feelings became real, but I understood that did not make the beginning less cruel. Graham listened without interrupting. When I stopped talking, he asked if I had known about Sierra and Logan before our first coffee. I said, "Wes." He closed his eyes for a second. He asked if the walks were part of the plan, the dinners, the night we kissed outside the restaurant. I said the first coffee was planned. The rest started to change. I told him the exact moment I knew I cared about him was when he told me not to make fear my only decision maker. I said no one had said anything like that to me in a long time. Graham looked at his hands. There was dirt under one of his nails. He had probably come from a job site. He said that did not answer his question. I said, "No, it did not." He took a long breath. Then he said he had spent most of the week trying to decide which part hurt more. Finding out his daughter had done something cruel, or finding out the woman he was falling for had chosen him because he was connected to that cruelty. My eyes filled. I said I did not expect him to forgive me. He said he did not know if he could yet. That word yet was not hope. Not really. It was just honesty. But I held on to it anyway. Graham said he needed space. He said Sierra had been calling him nonstop. She kept saying she loved Logan. She kept saying Natalie had humiliated her. Graham told her he was ashamed of the way she treated me. He also told her he could not talk to her while she kept making herself the victim. I asked if he hated me. He looked up then. His face softened a little. He said, "No, that would be easier." Then he left. The next month was ugly. Logan moved into a friend's basement after his parents told him he could not stay with them unless he stopped drinking and got help. Ryder sent me a long message saying he was sorry for helping Logan without asking questions. I did not forgive him, but I told him I believed he had not known the whole truth. Sierra sent emails from different addresses after I blocked her number. The first ones were angry. She said I turned her father against her. She said I used their affair as an excuse to do something worse. The later emails sounded different. She said she missed her dad. She said Logan was not what she thought he was. She said he blamed her every time people found out. I did not respond. One Friday night, Logan knocked on my door. I saw him through the peephole. His hair was unwashed. His shirt was wrinkled. He was holding a grocery store bag with some of the things he left behind. I opened the door with the chain still on. He said, "I just want to talk." I told him, "There is nothing left to say." He said Sierra and he were not together anymore. He said they tried, but it was not real. He said they fought all the time. He said he finally understood what he threw away. I asked if he understood because he was sorry or because Sierra stopped making him feel special. He looked at me like I slapped him. He said, "I love you." I said, "Love does not look like a calendar full of lies." He started crying. Real tears. I could see them on his face. A part of me wanted to feel something about it. I wanted to be the kind of person who could say I was glad he was hurting after what he did, but I just felt tired. I told him, "Leave." He said, "I have nowhere else to go." I said, "That is no longer my problem." Then I closed the door. The next morning, my mother called. I watched her name light up my phone until it stopped. Then it rang again. I answered because I did not know how to make myself stop caring about her. She said she was sorry. She said she had been thinking about the restaurant every day. She said she saw Sierra touch Logan's hand and felt a sick feeling in her stomach. She said she should have called me before she called Sierra. She said she should have told my father. She said she chose the path that let her avoid being the bad guy. I told her that was exactly what Logan and Sierra did too. They chose what was easiest for them and called it protecting someone. My mother got quiet. I hated how much I regretted saying it after I said it. But it was true. She told me she started seeing a counselor. She said she wanted to understand why she froze whenever there was conflict in our family. She said her own mother taught her that keeping peace was more important than saying what hurt. I told her, "I am glad you are getting help. I need time." She said, "I understand." That was the first honest conversation we had in weeks. Jada helped me find a therapist near the office. The therapist's name was Dr. Lane. Her room had soft lamps and a fish tank with one orange fish that never stopped moving. The first time I sat there, I kept picking at the skin around my thumb while I tried to explain why I felt so guilty about Graham. Dr. Lane asked if I regretted exposing Logan and Sierra. I said, "No." She asked if I regretted how I brought Graham into it. I said, "Laz." She nodded like those two things could exist at the same time. She said being harmed did not make me incapable of harming someone else. She also said that did not mean I was the same as Logan or Sierra. What mattered was whether I could look at what I did without turning away. I thought about that for days. I had spent so much time trying to prove I was not the stupid girlfriend they believed would accept anything. I wanted to be the person with the evidence, the person with the plan, the person who got the last word, but planning did not make pain disappear. It just gave pain a costume. 2 months passed. I took Logan's name off the lease after the property manager agreed to let him sign a release. I painted the bedroom walls a color called Quiet Rain even though Brooke said it looked like a dental office. I bought a dog from a rescue group. She was a small brown mutt with one white ear and too much energy. I named her Penny because she cost me almost nothing and immediately took over my whole life. Graham did not contact me, I did not contact him either. Every few days I wanted to send a message. I wanted to explain something better. I wanted to tell him Penny did not like thunderstorms. I wanted to tell him I drove past the lake and had to pull over because I remembered him pointing out a bird I still could not name. But I knew an apology could become another way of asking someone to take care of my feelings, so I waited. In late September, I received a letter from Sierra, not an email. A real letter in a white envelope with my name written across the front. I almost threw it away. Then I opened it, because some part of me still wanted to know if she could ever say the truth without trying to soften it. She wrote that she was moving to Portland for a job. She said she needed distance from Logan and from everyone who knew what happened. She said she had started therapy. She said when she first got involved with Logan, she liked feeling chosen. She liked that someone looked at her like she was exciting. She did not think about me as a person with a life that would break. She only thought about the feeling she got when she won something. That sentence made me put the letter down. She wrote that she had spoken to Graham twice since the party. He told her he loved her because she was his daughter, but love did not mean pretending she had not done damage. She said she did not expect me to forgive her. She said she was trying to become someone who would not make the same choice again. I put the letter in a kitchen drawer. I did not reply. The next week, I got a text from Graham. It said, "I saw Penny in the picture Brooke posted. She looks like trouble." I stared at the message until Penny climbed into my lap and licked my hand. I typed "she is." "She ate one of my shoes yesterday." Graham replied, "It sounds like you need better supervision." I laughed out loud. It was the first time I had laughed at something from him in months. We texted for a few days about safe things. Penny, work, the weather getting colder. He told me Sierra was leaving in 2 weeks. He said he was sad, but also relieved that she would have room to start over without seeing the wreckage every day. I asked how he was doing. He did not answer for a long time. Then he said, "Better than I was." Not all the way there. I understood that. He asked if I wanted to meet at the park by the lake. He said there was no pressure. He said he would understand if I did not. I said, yes. When I saw him walking toward me, I felt the same tightness in my chest I felt at the coffee shop after the party. But this time I was not carrying an envelope. I was not hiding screenshots. I was not trying to make anyone feel anything. Penny pulled on her leash and nearly dragged me into a puddle. Graham laughed. Then he stopped when he saw my face, like he was checking if it was okay to laugh. I told him it was okay. We walked around the lake. The trees were turning orange and red. People were sitting on benches with coffee cups and strollers. A little boy threw pieces of bread toward the ducks while his mother told him not to. Graham said he had thought about me a lot. He said he missed me, but he was scared that missing someone could make a person ignore things they should not ignore. I said, I am scared too. He asked what I wanted from him. I told him I did not want him to forgive me because I was lonely. I did not want him to date me because Sierra and Logan made a mess. I said I wanted the chance to know him without a plan behind it. I said if he did not want that, I would be sad, but I would understand. Graham was quiet for a while. Penny found a stick twice the size of her body and refused to let go of it. Finally, he said, I cannot promise you a future. I said, I am not asking for one. He said he would need honesty even when it made things uncomfortable. He said he could not be with someone who waited until the damage was done to tell the truth. I said, I know. He said, I need to go slow. I said, slow is okay. That was not a movie ending. There was no music. He did not kiss me beside the lake. We just kept walking while Penny tried to chase leaves. But it was more honest than anything I had built with Logan. Graham and I started again in small ways. Coffee on Sunday mornings. Dinner once a week. A rule that if either of us was upset, we said it before it turned into silence. He told me when a memory from the party made him pull back. I told him when I felt afraid he would leave. Sometimes the conversations were awkward. Sometimes they made me want to hide. We had one real fight in November. Graham canceled dinner because he had to handle a problem at a client's house. He texted me late. I said it was fine, but it was not fine. I spent the whole night thinking he did not care enough to make time for me. The next day, he noticed I was distant. He asked what was wrong. I said nothing. He looked at me for a second and said that word had caused enough trouble in both our lives. I almost got defensive. Then I told him the truth. I told him I was not mad about dinner. I was scared that I would become easy to leave once life got busy. Graham listened. He said he understood why I would feel that way. Then he said his client had a flooded basement, not a secret girlfriend. He smiled a little when he said it. I laughed even though my eyes were wet. He told me he would do better at communicating. I told him I would do better at saying what I needed before I built a whole story in my head. It was a small fight. It mattered anyway. My mother came to visit in December. She brought a casserole and stood in my doorway holding it like it was a peace offering. Penny barked at her for 5 full minutes before deciding she was acceptable. My mother looked around the apartment. She noticed the new paint, the dog toys, the pictures on the wall that no longer included Logan. She said, looks like yours now. I said, it is. We sat at the kitchen table and talked about the things we had avoided. She told me she was still seeing her counselor. She said she had called Sierra when she saw them because she wanted a private explanation. She said she now understood that she asked the person with the most reason to lie. She said she was ashamed. I told her I was still hurt. She said, I know. I told her, I love you. She cried quietly into a napkin. I did too. It was not fixed, not completely, but we stopped pretending it was nothing. Around Christmas, Victor called me. He said Logan had started therapy and found a job in another city. He said he was trying to do better. He said Melanie wanted me to know they were sorry for what their son did. I thanked him. After we hung up, I did not feel angry. I did not feel happy. I just put my phone down and took Penny outside. That surprised me. For so long, every thought about Logan was a sharp thing. It was his laugh in the other room, his phone face down on the counter, the word easiest, the hotel receipts in the closet. Then one day, he was just someone I used to know. Graham came over for dinner the following weekend. He made grilled cheese sandwiches because I had a cold and did not want to cook. Penny sat under the table hoping something would fall. We ate in the kitchen with the windows fogging up from the rain outside. Graham looked at me and said, I love you. He said it quietly, like he was telling me something important but not trying to trap me with it. I cried before I could stop myself. I told him, I love you too. I wish we had met another way. I wish I had been honest from the start. I wish none of it had happened. Graham took my hand. He said, I wish that too. Wishing does not change anything. We only get to choose what we do now. That was the thing I had been learning all year. Logan and Sierra made choices. My mother made a choice. I made choices too. Some were cruel. Some were quiet. Some came from fear. None of us got to erase them because we felt bad afterward. But we could choose what came next. 7 months after the anniversary party, Graham and I went back to the lake trail with Penny. It was warm again. The trees were green. Families were out with strollers and dogs. The same little coffee shop was open near the entrance. We sat outside with iced drinks while Penny slept under the table. My phone buzzed once in my bag, an unknown number. For a second, my stomach tightened the old way. Then I looked at Graham telling me about a garden he was designing for an elderly couple. He was describing the wife wanting roses and the husband wanting a fire pit. He was smiling because he thought their argument was funny. I turned my phone face down without checking it. The lake was bright in the afternoon sun. Penny snored under my chair. Graham reached across the table and took my hand. I used to think revenge would be the moment Sierra saw me with her father. It was not. The real victory was sitting there and realizing I did not need to know who was calling. I already knew where I was going.